While the economy and soaring inflation came out to be the top issues for our voters in Wisconsin, things got pretty fiery when we talked about crime and the Democrats' repeated call to defund the police. Watch for yourself.
I've seen in the last several years that we're getting down to ticky-tack definitions now. And it doesn't matter if you say we want to reallocate funds or we want to build up, community programs. You're still taking money away from the boots on the ground who are, in charge of maintaining law and order. And it's defeating the purpose of our laws and accountability if you are stripping the police department and law enforcement and the courts, quite possibly, from doing the job that they're sworn to do.
Julie, I saw you nodding your head as he was talking. What got your attention?
Regarding the police departments, how so many officers have been shot. It was even before 2020, because it was when President Obama was in office, when down in Dallas, when you had those 5 officers who were ambushed and stuff. And then I think that just started waking me up. And then before you know it, it was every week there was another city with some more officers being shot, being bombarded from these criminals who should maybe not have been out on parole or whatever. They should have been sitting in jail.
I support law enforcement. I think our law enforcement should be protecting us, and we should make sure that people are safe in our community, of course. But let's also look at it. You cannot, as I went back and said earlier in regards to crime, you cannot legislate morality. I don't care who it is. Neither, if I could be honest about it, I don't believe that Tim Michaels, I don't think Ron Johnson, I don't think that any of them could do anything in regards to crime, because it has to do with people's hearts. You can't legislate that. You can't legislate on people how to conduct themselves. Yes, we have laws. Our laws should be applied to everybody and those that do commit crimes. But also, too, at the same time, we gotta know that people have make choices as well.
Do you understand the frustration that voters have exercised that repeat offenders are being let back out on the street to reoffend?
Totally, and that goes to reforming our justice system. That's where it has to be, because our system is broken, if the truth be told, and it needs to have some reforms to it. I totally agree. People should be upset about it. Absolutely.
Let's talk about the DAs, because they're the ones that have to deal with these offenders on a day-to-day basis, and yet there is a consensus amongst all the major cities, including those that are in Wisconsin, that these offenders are not being charged to the highest amount and they're repeat violent offenders. So for those people, do you hold those progressive DAs accountable for those actions? Because the buck, in fact, does stop with them as the chief law enforcement officers.
They don't have a choice. The jail is overcrowded. The prisons are overcrowded. When prisons became part of a private sector, what does that mean? You arrest more people to make sure that for-profit prisons make money. So these issues that you're talking about are complex. I mean, right now, our DA would love to be able to hire more people in the courthouse alone. But there's a shortage of staff everywhere.
I think one of the core roles of government is safety. If you were to get a scorecard, if you can't get that right, you fail. Any political party in office just fails if they can't get that right. The other factor is that working on the school to prison pipeline, we've got more kids going to prison than they are exceeding in life. So we're trying to pump more investment into a broken system that isn't working, especially for kids of color. So I believe the Republican Party has an opportunity. So our legislature in Wisconsin is primarily Republican. We have an opportunity to reinvent a system to better serve kids.
All right, the panel is here. Tony Katz and Kevin Walling are both here. Tony, I'll go to you first. We've seen a shift in this race. Mandela Barnes was up, and now he's down by 6 points. And a lot of folks say it's because of the issue of crime.
Yeah, the whole defund the police conversation, and we've heard many times, look at what the progressive left has done, look at the legislation that's passed, look at the money that's been spent. They said defund the police, and it stuck. And Representative Cori Bush said just last week, people say, use the term reallocate, use the term move the money, but it's all the same thing. They actually believe in not having a police force on the ground that does the job. They don't believe in pursuing criminals. That's what John Fetterman in Pennsylvania said when he was at least engaging in some cogent conversations. This is the problem. They put it out there, it's stuck, and they're very upset that it has.
Kevin, what about that in the reaction from the panel there that I had? Everyone has to admit crime is a major issue.
Yeah, Lawrence, I love the panel from Milwaukee. I wish you would put me in touch with Kathy. I think we need to use her in some of these TV ads coming up. But listen, when you look at actual police funding and who's actually increasing budgets for law enforcement across the board in all these communities, it's Democrats. We devoted $350 billion as part of the American Rescue Plan that went in many ways directly to law enforcement, to hire more cops back. We just passed a police reform package just 2 weeks ago that would increase funding. So when you look at what is actually being legislated, especially on the national level, it's by President Biden and the Democrats working single-handedly to increase these funds.
Wow. Go ahead, Kevin.
This is a maddening argument, Kevin, because you keep pushing the same argument, and it's lovely, but it isn't true in the cities. The cities are run by the progressive left. The prosecutors don't prosecute. The cops feel hamstrung. They tried to defund and then realized it didn't work and then tried to put money back. But the attitude is the same, and that can't go away, and it is a player in these midterms.
I want to move on.
But, Tony, you just want to play politics with this. The 7 states that have the highest murder rates in this country are states that voted for Donald Trump. This is a problem across the board. It's not just the inner cities, and we need to be honest with the American people. It's affecting rural areas, suburban areas, and you have one party that's actually trying to increase funding right now in Congress,
You're
and that's
the party
the Democrats.
that says defund. How dare you be upset with
I'm
me
not.
for noticing?
I fundamentally reject that as a Democrat. And so does the president, the leader of my party.
All right, so
I don't believe that to be true.
I love it. Let's talk about the president, because it seems like no one in his party wants to campaign for him. And now you have Warnock saying this. Watch the pastor.
I've not spent a minute thinking about what politicians should run for what in 2024.
You haven't thought about it. If you can think about it now in 2024, the president will turn 82 years old. Are you concerned about his physical and his mental fitness at that time? You have 30 seconds.
The people of Georgia hired me to represent them regardless of who's in the White House.
So he just can't preach, he can spin. He does not want to be in connection with the president. Kevin, why?
Well, he's just one of them, and we saw this on the right with Donald Trump and not wanting to go to the suburbs and stuff like that. He's got to focus on Georgia and the race that he's got to win. And just now, 24 days from now, early voting starts in the Peach State on Monday. But listen, the president is on a campaign swing right now. He's out in Oregon, which is actually an interestingly tight race with a Republican challenger for that governor seat that's overperforming. He was just in Colorado in a tight Senate race out there with Michael Bennet. So the president is crisscrossing the country. This is one particular race in Georgia, but you're going to see the president out there in full steam ahead campaigning up and down the ballot for Democrats.
Look, fellas, I got to go, but I'll tell you this. Last time I checked, people wanted to campaign with Trump. They wanted to campaign with Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. And it doesn't seem like the case with Joe Biden. You just got to ask yourself why. I'll see y'all next week.